everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is The Wise Ones. Joining me this and every week is my dear friends and someone who is so important here at our channel and also to me personally and professionally. His name is Red O'Loughlin, and he is not only a co-host, but he is also one of our expert presenters on our Talking Heads platform. And he is one of our elevated listeners on our elevated listening team. He has accomplished so much in his life, and we're going to bring him out. He actually just helped me publish my second book, Adversity to Awesome, which is a #1 Amazon bestseller. He helped me publish 2 books, #1 in 11 months. Let's bring him out, and then we'll welcome our guest for the day. Hello, welcome. How are you?
Excellent as always.
It's always good to see you. I always learn so much from you.
It's always great to be seen.
Red, there are people joining us on our new radio channels in addition to our television channels, and it's possible that they haven't met you yet. And you have such an incredible backstory that I'd love to spotlight you and have you share with our audience a little bit about your background. And then we'll bring out our guest, Patty Farmer.
Fantastic. When I was a sophomore in high school, I fell in love with chemistry. Didn't get a chance to practice it because I got an invitation to Vietnam when I got my degree. But part of that chemistry knowledge is allowing me today to research the human body at the cellular level. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat a symptom, you'll always be treating a symptom. So that's what I write about. That's what I speak about. Today, right after the show, I'll be speaking, I think, number 3 of 6 in a series on heart health, talking about what you can do to avoid or lower the risk or avoid heart issues and how you can improve your health in general. I said I do to the Navy on a Sunday afternoon. The following Wednesday, I said I do to my wife. I spent 31 plus years with the Navy, visited 61 countries in the world. And in July, it will be 54 years with my wife. And we're looking forward to many, many more. Nowadays, in addition to my writing and my speaking, I also help people get their books published. And that's one of the projects that I worked on most recently with Dr. JACALYN. And she was so happy about getting 2 books published. She decided she was going to work on 2 books concurrently at the same time. And that's what we're working on right now. So be careful what you ask her to do, because she will just tear off and just start doing it. And back to you, Dr. JACALYN.
I'm laughing. Thank you. Yes, we are working on books number 3 and 4 at the same time, which is a fun project. But it's so easy to work with you, and you keep me on point, and I have the utmost respect for you. So thank you for that. And you've invited a wonderful guest here today, and I'm going to spotlight you to give her an introduction.
Patty Farmer and I met many years ago. It's if I had to summarize her, I'd pick up her Facebook page, and it says Marketing, Media, and Money. And this is really the 3 M's about Patty Farmer. She's been involved with business, helping businesses. She's done so many things in that area. I've had the pleasure of meeting her personally in many regards, but I love the way she helps people. She has a little note there saying she's a serial entrepreneur and a recovering domain name collector, and I can easily see that. She has many, many unique gifts, and we're getting a chance to explore them today as we're here on The Wise Ones. And so with no further ado, Patty, would you please join us?
Hi, Patty. Welcome.
Hello. It's so great to be here.
It's nice to have you with us, and it's an exciting topic, converting relationships into revenue. And I think this is something of interest really for everyone. So I'm going to spotlight you, and if you could share just a little bit about that topic, and then we'll delve into your background.
Absolutely. So I really feel like when we're talking about relationships, I believe that relationships are the currency in today's business environment. So my question to everyone is, if that's true, how fat is your wallet, right? Is your wallet nice and full because you've been building relationships with people? And I think that is really important. And I always like to say that visually, think of it like an ATM. And if it's an ATM, are you making more deposits or are you making more withdrawals? So I think that's what's really, really important today is making sure that that currency that we have is in the relationships we build, and that is the roadmap to revenue.
Thank you, Patty. We definitely have had an opportunity over the last 2+ years to really look at what relationships are we involved with, and are they making sense? Are they deposits, as you mentioned? So this is a great topic. Red?
Absolutely. With the COVID, almost everybody I know had to go onto video. And I think it's one of those unique things because instead of just connecting with people and shaking hands and seeing them for an hour once a week or once a month, as the case may be, all of a sudden we're opened up to 20, 30, 40 people in a meeting. And if you have the ability to communicate that Patty's talking about, those relationships, you almost have to hang on, just one more time. And you're just collecting them left and right. I just noticed that it's amazing how many more people I communicate with on a regular basis today than I did pre-COVID. So I thought the same for you, Patty?
Oh, absolutely. I think that we have the capacity now to be in front of so many more people that what it has done is made us be more intentional. And I think that is so important nowadays.
I agree with you. We started a show here 2 weeks ago for women, by women, about women. And the reason I bring it up is because the panelists are women from all over the world. And each of them are talking about how women's issues are affecting them or how they were brought up. And that would never have happened, most likely, if it hadn't been for the pandemic, that I'd even be able to meet these people. So it is incredible when you think about your wallet and about relationships. Are people branching out? Are they going and developing relationships and adding value, supporting other people outside their comfort zone?
I think that's so true, because I think that one of the things that people need to really remember is that when you are building relationships with someone, it really isn't always about you in the beginning, right? And so many times, old school networking was it's all about meeting for coffee, right? That was the deal. Meet everybody for coffee. But I have to tell you, I don't know about you, but for me, how many times have you walked away from having coffee and thought to yourself, oh my gosh, there's 90 minutes of my life I'll never get back? Right. So being intentional and now being able to meet like this is so much more important now, to be able to be very intentional, to really be thinking about the relationships you want to build and how are you going to convert them. And the number one way is to serve first, right? It's always about who do you serve, not what you do.
Absolutely. When you're solving people's problems, when they get a better night's sleep because they're not worried about things and they can do it on their own, or if they come to a point where they can't do it on their own, they know who to go to because you've showed them the way. And I find that to be a very, very easy way of just giving as much of yourself as you can. And then if somebody comes back and says, hey, I need your help, then you have a really interested person and that relationship builds a lot faster than if you just piecemeal things out as you see fit. Just give them what they need.
And I think too, to add on to that, which is fabulous, to add on to that is, I come from the marketing space where so many people think it's all about your target market. Oh, you need to make sure you know who your target market is, which is true. I mean, that it is step one, but it's a very basic step to just know who your target market is, which is pretty much people who have a problem that you have a solution to. But really, what I believe is where you take the next step is where you start really building relationships with your target buyers, which are basically people who have a problem that you have a solution to, but they're actively looking for the solution, which changes everything.
That is a very specific difference in a target market and target buyer. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I do too. Patty, I'm just wondering, I spent most of my career in corporate until I retired in 2020 and started doing this. And what I would find is there were a lot of relationships that I would have with potential clients, potential buyers who didn't have the ability to say yes, and they weren't responsible for the budget, but they loved the free meals. They'd love to go to the different entertainment events. And yet it was okay because we could just put down on our report that we met a client, but that wasn't really adding any value. That was just taking up time. That's like that coffee break that you talked about. So what can you share with our audience about being aware of when a relationship is just that. It's just a surface level relationship that's not really bringing any value to you or the other person.
Well, I think it starts with asking better questions. I think a lot of times right now, and I know this may sound bold, but the reality is going back to the old adage of how people network, felt like to build relationships, what we need to be talking about is, oh, how many kids do we have, and our animals, and God knows the weather, or these type of surface level things. And not that if I'm building a relationship with you, ultimately at some point I do want to know those things, but until I figure out whether we are going to go on a second date, so to speak, it's really not as important. What I need to know is, who do you serve? So I have a few questions that I ask. I can tell you, and I teach this all the time, if you ask these questions and it takes less than 5 minutes, you will know exactly what the next step is and where it should go and how you can convert it to that, so to speak. I'm more than happy to share the questions if you'd like.
Yes, yes, we
Yeah.
would love it.
Yes, yes,
Oh.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so the thing that I always say is, people love to use the sentence, what do you do? But the reality is, when you ask somebody what they do, they tell you. And they keep telling you, right? And then it kind of goes to sales. And you haven't really built a relationship yet. So I always say, stop asking that question. A better question is, who do you serve? When you ask someone who they serve, well, now it's not about them at all. Now it's about the people that they serve. And what you need to be listening for when they tell you is a couple things. One, if they can't tell you who they serve, that kind of tells you something right there. But if they do and they tell you who they serve, you should be listening and going, wow, I serve some of them too. And if you don't serve all of them, well, maybe that just gave you a little bit of information of maybe someone you could serve. And if you do, it kind of changes the conversation because now you have that in common. So that's always the first question. So now you can get real targeted right there. The second question I always like to say, and I kind of always word it a little bit like this, so I'll kind of model that for you. I would say, so Red, I know a lot of people. And if I was going to tell them about you, what would you want me to tell them? Now, when you ask somebody that question, they're going to get super uber focused on the value they bring to the marketplace because they obviously want you to tell those people about them, right? They're not going to tell you, oh, I have 5 kids and this is the name of my dog, right? Now they're going to tell you, here's the value that I bring to the marketplace. So in literally like 3 minutes, I now know who they serve and what's the value they bring to the marketplace. So the third question I ask is, what is the difference? What's your differentiator between you and someone else who does what you do, right? Is in your industry. And a lot of times they look at me like that because they don't know. They don't know. And I'll always say, would you like me to model that for you? And they were like, oh, please. And then I'll use this example because it's an easy example. And I say, well, I knew a realtor who doesn't know 1 or 10, right? Realtors. And I'd say, when I asked her this question, she asked me that she didn't know. And could I help her? And she told me that before she was a realtor, she worked for a builder in the negotiation department and that she knew everything they could negotiate on and everything they couldn't. I don't know about you, but if I was going to buy a house from a builder, I would love to have a realtor who could tell me everything they could negotiate on. So the question here is, what is your differentiator? Because the thing is, if you know who someone serves and you know the value they bring to the marketplace, and you know what makes them different than everybody else in less than 5 minutes, that was 3 questions. And then here's how I end it. And I do this in person, works really well in person. You can also do it virtually. You just have to do it a little bit different virtually. So when you visualize right now what your business card looks like, so picture it in your mind. And so for me, I think about social. So the question I always ask is, so what's your favorite social media platform? Where do you like to hang out? And in my mind, on my business card, if we're going to exchange business cards, whether virtually or in person, in my mind, like the top right corner is LinkedIn, the bottom right corner is Twitter, then it's Instagram, and then it's Facebook. So those are mine. Everybody's will be different, but as long as you know. And when I ask them that question, where do you like to hang out? And they tell me, if I'm in person, when we wrap up right there, I fold that corner of the business card where they told me they were the most active, because there's no reason for you to go home and connect with somebody on every single social media platform where they just told you where they hang out. So now I know who they serve, the value they bring to the marketplace, what their differentiator is, and where on social media is the place that they hang out. And that's all I need to know. So imagine you're at an event and there's 50 or 60 people there, and you go home with that stack of business cards, so to speak. All you have to do is look at the business card, know exactly what you need to do. Look at the corner of the business card, and now you know where you should connect with them and how you can continue the conversation to start building that relationship, because you actually have real good information to start with.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very nicely done.
Thanks.
It's almost like you've been doing this for a while.
Just a little while.
And I love the fact that you get the information in a quick way. So you're not taking up a lot of their time and your time and then walking away going, well, that was a waste of time. And
Right.
yeah, that's a fabulous process. Congratulations.
Thank you. And sometimes people have said to me, well, Patty, what do you do if they tell you who they serve and all this kind of stuff? And you're thinking, wow, they don't serve anybody that I serve. But this is where, when you're building relationships, you need to be thinking, okay, so they don't serve anybody I serve, but I have a whole network. Is there somebody that they said that they serve that I think, wow, Joe serves them too, and so does Red. And now I get to serve my network by doing some introductions that are pretty intentional. And one of the things that I do is I always like to ask people if they would send me an introduction blurb, because sometimes people introduce you and you're thinking, okay, they dropped the lead, so to speak, right? I'm sure you've all been introduced in a way that wasn't the way you wanted to be introduced, right? And so I always say, tell me how you would like me to introduce you, so that I know how to do an introduction for you. And I'm not bragging, but I have to tell you, I have a 100% success rate at people showing up for calls with me. And the reason is because I use this same process, just like I do these questions. And what I say to them is, when you email me back, or whatever the case may be, to confirm that we're going to meet, could you also tell me who an ideal client is for you, and 2 to 3 people that would be great partners for you? And then here's the punchline. I say, this way, before we meet, I have a chance to look through my database, and if I know any of them, I can bring it with me when we meet. So everybody wants to come.
Oh yes, that's a great way to get people engaged for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Wish we had that information back when I was in corporate.
Well, we just don't have very much time, right? You don't have very much time. And so for me, the sooner that I will know by asking those questions, like I said, less than 5 minutes, that I know, oh, is this just somebody who's really, really nice? Let me do an introduction for them. Or is it somebody that really I want to take to the next step? So, it's kind of like you have the A team and then the B team, right? And so like I want to be thinking about that, so I know where to spend my time, because I'm all about 3 things. I have 3 favorite words. And one is strategy. So I always have a strategy. And I just shared part of that with you, is the strategy. And then I always want to leverage everything I do and then monetize, right? So you have to be able to have a strategy. You have to know how to leverage it, and you have to know how to monetize it. And that's in everything. Like, even like if you're on interviews, like say you're on a podcast interview, one of the things I tell people about leveraging and converting relationships really is this. So how many times you hear about somebody, I'm sure with what you guys do, you see it all the time. I have a podcast, so I know I do, where when people are on your show, they get out on social media and they're like, oh, I'm so excited, I was a guest on, XYZ show. And that's all they do. And they think that is leveraging. That's not leveraging. And so leveraging means you talk about it before, you talk about it during, you talk about it after. And for me, I like to take it an extra step. I'm in marketing. And so, for example, say, so I hope people are writing it down. So say, for example, you're episode 62, we'll just say. What I want to know is, who is episode 60 61, 63, and 64. Like, who are those? And I call this the sandwich approach. So a week or so has gone by. You've been promoting it. Everybody's been promoting it. And what I want to do is go back and look at who the people before me and after me are. And I want to connect to them. I want to look and see what they were talking about. And then I promote those episodes as well. And the reason why I do it is because when people go to the episode page to see that episode, who is sandwiched right between? I am. And so I'm serving others while serving myself. And then they're thinking, wow, who's this girl that was promoting the episode? Wasn't even her. And then all of a sudden they want to know me too. And so this is where you can serve others, because that's what I call is an opportunity. People always say, oh, I'm looking for ops, right? And OPP for me stands for other people's people. So if you're thinking about it and you have a strategy and you know how to leverage, you will know how to monetize, which means you get in front of other people's people, and you always do it by serving first.
I love that. OPP, other people's people. And, Patty, you hit on something that I just shake my head all the time. So we have about 25 live shows every week. And I find that many people who come on don't do any social media posting whatsoever. And I'm just shocked by it, because I think to myself, wait, you're taking the time to do something. Why aren't you letting other people know? And the answers that I've gotten back in many cases is that people feel overwhelmed by social media. They don't understand how to leverage it, and they would rather just not deal with it. And that's, what do you feel about that?
No, I think that absolutely is true. And I think part of that is training and making it, it easy. Like, whatever we can do to make it easy for people, I think really works for them. But even then, even if you do it nice and easy and then they just share it, whatever, people really don't realize. But man, talk about a way to really generate revenue from your time. Like, that's leveraging your time. If you're spending 45 minutes doing something, social media gives you the ability to be able to do it over and over and over again. It's also like how when people do, and like you'll send them swipe copy, or you'll send them and say, oh, here's your episode, right? They go and put it everywhere all at once. They put it, every platform in the first 5 minutes, and then they're done. And I'm thinking, well, if people are following you and they see it on every platform, they're only going to do it one time and follow you on one time. So when I'm on things, I like to schedule my things out over the next week or so that I'm going back over and over and over again on every platform differently. And you can automate things so much now. So I think that is like really easy. And then after that, like what I was saying, when I go back to them, then you do them at a different time, because not everybody's on that social media platform in the morning. Sometimes they're on at night. And so I alternate them. So I feel like I want to do that really well. The other thing that I do, so I feel like these are the things that I always say set the stage, is a lot of times speakers and different people, when they're done, they feel like everybody should come give them a recommendation. Oh, will you recommend me because I spoke on your stage? And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, so don't get me wrong. What I'm saying, again, is you can build a relationship faster by giving, right? And so for me, when I'm on an event or I'm on something, I go and give them. So as soon as like I'm on somebody's stage or I'm on their podcast or I've done something with them, then the next day when they get to say, wow, Patty left me a LinkedIn recommendation saying how amazing my podcast was and how much she enjoyed being on it. Oh my gosh, she went to Google and left me a 5-star a 5-star review. Oh my gosh, she went and reviewed in the world that we are in, it is a lot smaller world than we think of. So when we have somebody come on and say, oh my gosh, this person did this and did this and did this, we tell our friends about that. And that's how you get booked the next time and the next time. And they ask you back and they tell their friends, because you were such a great guest. So if you want to build relationships doing that, build relationships with the people who have the shows, who have the things that you want to be on and do, but you have to leverage them.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. JACALYN, is it about time for our
yes, it is. Thank you,
break?
Red. I told you he always keeps me on point, didn't I? So
well, so halfway through the show, and we're about in that general neighborhood. So it's a lot easier to plan it and say it than to get started again, and then you're kind of off kilter, and then all of a sudden you get 5 minutes So it's a whole lot easier to do it this way.
Thank you, Red. And in light of the fact that it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm going to be playing 2 clips about mental health awareness, and then we'll be right back with Red and Patty. So stay with us here on The Wise Ones.
Any one of us can feel lonely, anytime, anywhere. We can be surrounded by people and still feel lonely. Some of us are more at risk than others, but research has shown that millions of us feel lonely some or all of the time. And long-term loneliness can make us feel anxious or depressed and have a serious effect on our mental health. Yet while millions of us experience feelings of loneliness, we can still find it hard to talk about. 1 in 5 of us hide our feelings of loneliness from others. It can be hard, but there are things we can do for ourselves and for others. Acknowledging we've all been there is a start. And by coming together, we can tackle loneliness. We can also help influence policy, support each other, and help prevent mental health problems. This Mental Health Awareness Week, we want to let everyone living with loneliness know that their mental health matters. And together, we can make change happen.
Take a moment.
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 So I've had the privilege of photographing some incredible people over the years, and during each shoot I've asked the subject to close their eyes and take themselves to a peaceful place just for a few seconds. I've found that this really helps to refresh the energy between the camera and the subject. They had an energy that was quite special and quite different from the rest of the shoot. The collection grew, and now it feels the right time to use it for something good. I think it'd be amazing if we could help to raise awareness and involve people in the discussion about mental health. So what we're asking to do is for everyone to upload their own self-portraits. All of these portraits will become part of a massive artwork. I'm really excited to see this project go from hundreds of pictures to thousands of pictures. Essentially, an ever-evolving artwork that says we're all in this together.
Close your eyes and take a moment.
and you have accomplished so many big things. These are not like tiny, these are like major things that you have accomplished. And during this pandemic, most of us have had to look inside and realize that maybe we're not happy with what we're doing. Maybe the relationships we have aren't working. And I'd love if you would just share for people who are watching or listening, how did you accomplish what you've accomplished to date and be so successful in all of these areas?
I think for me, the reason why is because I focus on doing one thing, marketing, media, and money. And so because of that, everything else I do supports that. You know, the magazine is marketing, media, money. The podcast is marketing, media, money. My events are marketing, media, money. So those are the things that I do. I just do them in different ways because not everybody likes to do the same thing. And I like having those assets. But I think that for me, I looked at what are the things that I love to do, and I love to travel. Like, what are the things I love to do? And how can I take those skill sets and put them in my business model? And so that's why it's important to me. So, for example, I just got back from Italy and I'm leaving next month for Paris to speak because I like to speak internationally. And how I have done that is by building relationships internationally. And so one of the ways that I do that, and so people can do this locally, they can do this nationally, they can do it internationally. The concept is the same, which basically is that during the pandemic, we were all at home, right? We were all at home. We weren't out together, right? And so what I have done is I have tapped into all the co-working spaces. I used to go to coffee houses, which I love that too. But a lot of times when you go to coffee house, what you see are people on their laptop, they've got earbuds in their ears, right? And they're working, and it's a great place to work. And you'll have a couple conversations probably. But for me, going into co-working spaces, and now you can Zoom into co-working spaces. Every place I go, I Zoom or I go to a co-working space. And then I ask everybody, like, where do you network that you get the greatest results? And thus I have built a network all over the world of co-working spaces and people and networks that I tap into, which has enabled me to be able to speak 12 to 15 times a year internationally. And I love that. So being able to build that model for me has really helped me. Probably the biggest way it helped me is I just got done buying a villa in Italy. So it was kind of fun for me.
Woo, that's excellent. Congratulations.
Patty, I noticed that in one of your bios that you said that it took you a long time, months, to get comfortable speaking in front of an audience. And I see most recently you were named by the Global Powerhouse Group in London as a global business strategist and the number 3 in the top 10 media speakers you need to know by the International Speaker of the Year by Public Speaker Association. So obviously your speaking has changed slightly over time, from local to national to international. Could you take us on a little journey about how you overcame your fear of speaking and
So I have to tell you, for me, it was so nerve-wracking because I didn't want to be a speaker. I just didn't want to speak. I was a trainer. I did training, but I just didn't want to be a speaker. And so I had a friend who asked me to come and speak for them on networking. And she said, "Oh, Patty, that'll be really easy. And will you come and do that for me?" And she kind of hounded me about it, to be totally honest, until I said I would do it. And then I went and did it. And then when I was there, I realized that like 37 people came up to me afterwards and asked me how they could hire me. And I was like, what? I spoke for like 45 minutes. And I thought to myself, wow, what a great way to be in front of people. So I decided that I wanted to be a speaker. I was going to add that to my business model. However, it didn't work for me that day in the sense because I was also very fearful. And I was fearful for a couple different reasons. One being that I didn't want to wear soap opera dresses. That wasn't really me. I wasn't this eloquent person who was going to do that. I didn't want to, make a pregnant pause and make 3 points. It wasn't me. And so I hired a coach. And what she told me changed my life, actually. What she said to me was that what you need to do is not change me, but I needed to just speak in front of people who needed to hear it the way I said that, the way I speak. And that really worked for me. And for 18 months, I got sick every time before I got on a stage. But once I realized the second biggest thing, which was, it isn't about me at all. It is never about me. It is always about them and who can I serve and who can I help. And once I did that and took my eyes off myself and just said, wow, I just need to make a difference. Like, I just need to use my voice to serve others. And once I did that, it changed everything. But the biggest thing, to answer your question, is that when I became that speaker that one day and said that I would do it, I went out to my network and said, I want to speak. Who do you know that's looking for a speaker? And within 3 days, somebody called me on the phone and said, Patty, could you come and speak on LinkedIn, how to generate leads? Can you speak on that? And of course, I didn't have any speeches prepared because I wasn't a speaker. And it was only 3 days. I said, sure, I can do that. And I said, well, when? And she said, tomorrow. I said, tomorrow? Where? She said, in England. And I said, what? And she said, oh, yeah. And they told me they paid me 5 figures if I would get on a plane, come to England and give that talk. 15 hours later, I wrote my speech while I was on the plane, went and gave a talk and got booked for 3 more talks and literally became a 6-figure speaker in my first week of speaking.
Wow.
What a story. That's amazing. You would think that's only something that you read about in a book or see in a Hollywood movie, and here you're living it. You've lived it.
Well,
I say it's kind of accidental, but literally everything I've done, I really kind of believe that if you say yes, mentally, my mind says that if I say yes and I commit to it, I will manifest it. And everything I've ever wanted to manifest has how it has worked for me. So when I said, oh, well, if I'm going to be a speaker, I want to be an international speaker. So that started my international speaking right after, like that just kept getting me booked right away. Right. And so that kind of worked there. But then it was like, oh, Patty, are you going to do events? I'm like, oh, no, I've never done an event. And I was very fearful that I would fail. And so I put together this very small event, didn't even market it because I thought, oh, what if I fail? And I'm a marketing expert. What if I fail? And so I was really quiet about it. But I started reaching out again to my network and all these people that I spoke at. And so I did an event in New York, which could have gone really badly because I didn't know, and I booked it during New York Fashion Week. Crazy, during New York Fashion Week. And so I sold it out in like 2 weeks. We just had our 14th year. So I've been doing that for 14 years. And of the 14 years, 7 of them have been 7-figure events. And the last one, we had 99 people. Couldn't get that one more for 100, but we had 99 people. And of those 99 people, only 4 of them were from the United States. Everybody came from Europe. And that was exciting.
Well, that's when it
Super
falls back.
exciting.
That falls back into your converting relationships of who you know and how that value gets exchanged among people. And obviously you're offering the right kind of value to the right people because they are constantly keeping you in demand.
Well, I think that when you have assets, that really helps. But one of the things that I have noticed is when you're having coffee, right? However you're doing that, here's what happens. You're asking these people these questions and, they're getting a lot of value. And then here's what I see happen all the time. At the end, reciprocity being what it is, they'll say, oh my gosh, I would love to be able to serve and support you too. What can I do for you? And then people answer that with, well, I don't know. They don't have an ask, right? And so a lot of times, people will have a too big an ask, like, you really can't ask somebody on a first cup of coffee, so to speak, to refer you a client because they really don't know you well enough. And are they willing to do that? But you could ask for an introduction, right, to somebody. Or you could have something very simple. You could say, I'd love to speak on podcasts. I'd love to be interviewed. Who do you know that has a show that now that we've had this great conversation and a little bit more about me, you're just asking them to introduce you to the podcast host or the person who's doing the interview. You're not guaranteeing them that those people are going to say, yes, we absolutely want them on the show, but you're just asking for the introduction. So sometimes people make the ask too big because people just think everything should be about, could you refer me business and give me clients? And I think that we're not married yet. We're still just dating. And so I think that people need to slow that down, but be specific and have an ask, because if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Yes. And Patty, I just wanted to go back to that event that you were talking about. In my corporate career, I sold meetings and events all over the world for years. And the expression is, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. An event in New York is tough for a lot of reasons. So congratulations. That's quite an accomplishment over and over again.
Thank you. I really love doing events. Events is a lot of fun for me. I really like doing it because I have this network and I get to pull in other people to come and speak and be experts. But really, again, I think the secret, and it's probably the secret for all of these things, is that what is the theme that holds it together, right? For me, it's marketing, media, and money. And I'll give you an example. Like if somebody's going to ask you to speak at an event, and maybe it's an event where you're going to get to have an offer. And so you're going to have to pay for your flight, your hotel, your food. So you're going to incur some costs before you get there, and you're going to hope you're going to make your money back. And they say to you, I'll set the stage, and they say to you, oh, we're going to have 100 people there. Okay, great. And they're going to have 5 speakers, and say I speak about marketing, and maybe they're going to have a acupuncturist speak and a Reiki healer, and they're going to have somebody who does branding. Like, these are the speakers that they're going to have. Well, here's the thing that you have to think about. You have to think about, if there's 100 people in the room, how many of those 100 people are your target buyers? Do you serve, is somebody who's a Reiki healer, is their audience going to be somebody that may hire you? So you need to realize that only a portion of those 100 people are going to be your people. And that's why right now we have the biggest opportunity to convert relationships. And we can do it by speaking in people's Facebook groups, speaking on Zoom calls for people's community, because here's the thing that people do wrong, and here's a better way. So what I see a lot of times, and I'll just use Facebook as an example, people will go into Facebook groups, I'm sure you've all seen it, where they go in there and they do what I call trolls, right? They go through, they look at people who ask questions, and then they try to sell them. Okay, that's the wrong way. So if you're doing that, a lot of time, there's probably 15 people who do what you do in that group, and that's just not the way to do it. A better way to do it would be for you to connect and build a relationship with the host of the group. So now, if you go to the host of the group and you're like, I'd love to serve and support your group, what can I do? Right. And now you are willing to have them come in your group, or there's some asset you have. Maybe you have a podcast. Maybe you could interview them and ask them, who do you know in your group? Where should I best spend my time so that I can serve your group and it still gets an ROI for me? Guess what? That host now, because you did that, will introduce you to all the people in her group or his group that are the right people for you. So what happens is people spend a lot of time doing a lot of activity that isn't productive. So there's activity and there's productivity, right? And so really get to know the people who have the network, get to know the people who run the group, get to know the people who are the host of the podcast, right? Build those networks and relationships with them by serving them. And that's how you can do it in less time.
Really good points. Thank you, Patty. And I'd love for you to just address a comment that I'm going to make for people out there who are doing this on a repeated basis. I can't tell you how many times people contact me on the platforms, the social platforms, via Messenger, messaging, whatever. And it's a very long, this is what I do. This is what I'm offering. This is my next event. I'm saving a space for you. And then it's like all about them. It's about them. It's about them. So you don't respond. I don't respond. And then I get contacted again. Have you read what I sent? No, no, I don't want to work with you. You're just taking. And it happens all the time. So what can you share with people about this as not being a way to get your wallet thicker?
Oh, that was so good the way you worded that. I loved it. Thank you so much. You're welcome. So that is so true. People do that because they always start everything with what's in it for me. And really it is about outreach. It's like, what is it in it for everybody else? Because now you're providing value, and there's a lot of better ways, obviously, that you could do that instead of just saying, oh, here's what I do. Here's what I do. Here's what I do. But I'm sure if instead somebody would have came to you and said, you know what, I've been listening to some of your interviews, and I love that on this interview, this was really a great point that you made. And on this interview, I love the way that you did this. And I feel that I might be able to serve and support your audience in a few ways and would love to have a conversation about that. And in the meantime, here's a couple other ones of people that I could introduce you to that based on your show, I think might be really, really good for you. And I'd love to do an introduction and see if maybe there's a way for you to be on their show as well. Now you're giving value. You know, I actually listened to your show, right? And I did something about it. And I think that would probably make you want to have a conversation.
You absolutely nailed it. And the way you came here today, so professional, and shared information that people alternatively could have paid you to share that information, and you put it out there. It means so much. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And I'm so excited about your speaking engagements that are coming up. That sounds just so, I don't know, so exciting on so many levels, and an opportunity to connect with other cultures and to just take your messaging and spread it to as many people as you can. So congratulations on everything that you're doing. And it was such a wonderful honor to have you here today.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful honor to actually be here. Thank you, Red, for the opportunity and the reach out. That was really, really great. It was my pleasure.
And Patty, you're welcome to come back on any of our other shows. As I mentioned, we have about 25 shows a week, so feel free to book in on some of the other topics, and we'd love to have you back and hear how you're doing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Before you go, I want to spotlight you. And for people who are not watching, but they're listening, what's the best way to contact you? We have your banner, but they can't see it possibly.
So the best way is just to go to my website, pattyfarmer.com. Every other thing, the magazine, the podcast, all my social, everything is right there in a local hub. So pattyfarmer.com would be the best way.
And who would you like to contact you?
Oh, thank you so much for asking that question. So I love to work with women specifically. I like to market to women. So I love working with women who are entrepreneurs, small business owners, and speakers.
All right. I love how you know exactly what you want and who you can help.
Absolutely.
All right, Patty, thank you again. I look forward to seeing you on another show.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.
Bye. That was fantastic. Thank you for inviting her here. I learned so much from her. And that's what I love about this platform. It's all about caring and sharing. It's about entertainment, education, inspiration, and hope. And Red, I know your show is coming up right after this, Talking Heads. What will you be sharing with people today?
We started 2 weeks ago, I guess, on heart health, talked a little bit about it in general. Last week, we talked about, I think, 5 or 6 or possibly 7 causes of heart disease. I'm taking another look today at additional causes of heart disease and what you can do about it. And then next week, we're going to be looking at the same. There's about 18 to 20 different individual causes that most people are unaware of. But if you know what's happening, what you can stop doing or what you can start doing, that is a major benefit for improving your health. And that's what we're talking about today is let's start with awareness, go into education, and then give you options. And that's what we're doing, talking about heart health and how you can avoid some types of heart disease.
Fantastic. Thank you. And how can people get in touch with you, Red?
RedO'Laughlin.com is my website. It's R-E-D like the color, O'Laughlin, OLaughlin, OLaughlin, RedO'Laughlin.com. And I can be reached at either my email address at red@redolaughlin.com or red.olaughlin@gmail.com.
Thank you kindly, sir. I appreciate it. And I'll let you go over to the other studio and I'll see you there shortly.
I'll be putting my track shoes on here as soon as I can get off these headsets, and I'll join you over the other studio in a moment.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
I just want to thank each and every one of you who watch our shows. I say it over and over again, but I really do mean it. It makes such a difference. We have people from all over the world who are reaching out, and it's such an honor to be in this position to meet new people and have them share their stories and learn about new cultures and what's going on in the world, because we truly are all one global community. We are all connected. So thank you for that. And if you're watching over in our YouTube channel, whether it's now live or on the replay, please do subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our family here. All right, as we close out, I just want to mention this book, my second book that I launched last week, Adversity to Awesome. My fellow authors and I have written this. It's 12 chapters, and the first chapter is my story and something that happened to me. You can get this book as well as my first book, Behind the Green Screen, over on Amazon, and you can learn a little bit about me and my background if that might be of interest to you, and maybe you'll find some hope and inspiration in there as well. All right, we are tuning off right now as we come back in less than 10 minutes with Red O'Loughlin and our Talking Heads programming. Thank you so much. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Red. Thanks to each and every one of you. Bye for now.